You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, let's talk about Caitlin Clark and the WNBA and sports media. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you check to see if you're still subscribed. And if you're mad about the Breonna Stewart video, I don't know what to tell you. Did we lose subs? Yep, we sure did. It is what it is. It is what it is. I didn't ask anybody for her to make that move. So anyway. We've got a story right here I've had my eye on for the last day involving Caitlin Clark and WNBA franchises. And we know the schedule came out the other day. Of course, there's still not a CBA deal in place. So there's that in all of this, and I would keep this in mind. But we've got the sports media proclaiming that the other WNBA teams have basically decided that the Caitlin Clark effect is over. That it's a wrap. That no longer do WNBA fans want to fill NBA arenas to watch Caitlin Clark play. By the way, I believe all of this will change when the CBA is signed. I think that's the only reason this has happened. And I think you will see once the CBA gets signed, we get closer to the season, you will see a change where several other teams decide to move games over into NBA arenas. We got to remember, look, the players union, complete buffoons. All right, complete clowns. But the WNBA and their leadership, they're just wearing a different shade of clown paint. The owners, some of them, like the ones with the Atlanta Dream, like the ones with the Washington Mystics. Anybody remember Sheila Johnson? Yeah. Everybody should be Time Athlete of the Year. I find this hilarious, and I find it hilarious that the sports media is trying to jump on this as a way to, as we know, they're always trying to figure out a way to downplay the popularity of Caitlin Clark because they want it so badly to be about all these other players that it's just simply not about. The WNBA are moving more games to different arenas this upcoming season, but Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever have significantly fewer of those games. The WNBA regular season schedule announced Wednesday included 19 games moved to different arenas, up from 15 games last year. This is what they're not telling you yet. You've got to pay attention to this. This is all because of expansion franchises. The WNBA teams that moved games in recent years to accommodate more fans or to appeal to those in different markets. The increase is largely due to the Toronto Tempo, an expansion team. One of the WNBA's expansion franchises, along with the Portland Fire. The Tempo are playing 5 home games outside of their usual home, the Coca-Cola Coliseum, including 2 games each in Montreal and Vancouver. But opponents have moved just 4 games to bigger arenas for Caitlin Clark and the Fever this season, down from 9 last year. The 4 games are July 5th against the Aces, August 8th against the Sky, August 18th against the Tempo, August 20th against the Wings. Do you notice these are a little bit later dates? I think part of this is because, well, I think large part, if not all of it, is because they don't know what's going on with the CBA right now. All right? Because there's a world where they could lose games at the beginning of the year. And that we're looking up and we're getting a shortened season because they couldn't get CBA done. The Chicago Sky and the Dallas Wings each have just won this year after 2 last season. The Mystic Sun Dream each moved one game against Indiana last year, but none for the upcoming season. I will be shocked if the Atlanta Dream and the Mystics don't end up moving games for Caitlin Clark. I will be shocked if that does not happen, because we know the Atlanta Dream play in what? A 4,300 seat arena? And the other reason the Connecticut Sun hasn't done it is probably what's going on with their franchise right now. But I bet they ultimately move games. Some of this has got to do with the fact Caitlin Clark was out last year, injured. But if she rolls into the season healthy, then you're going to start seeing franchises move games, just like they did the last 2 years. The Liberty, Portland Fire, Mercury, Golden State Valkyries, and Lynx already play in NBA arenas. The decrease in moved Fever games comes after Caitlin Clark played in just 13 games last season. Clark appeared in just 3 of the 9 moved games. The Fever remained the league's biggest draw last year, averaging 15,884 fans for their road games, 4,000 more than any other team. Indiana's road games moved to larger arenas were all sellouts. So even without Caitlin, the Fever sell out games. Now, I will tell you the difference. All right? The difference is gate revenue. Some of those games that were moved last year, when they realized that she was not playing, the ticket prices dropped on those games. Okay? They did drop. I mean, it is what it is. They sold the games out, but I watched the ticket prices, and they went progressively down. When people realized Caitlin Clark was not going to play in those games. Quote, "We can't speak to what other teams may do in terms of venue changes," Fever spokesperson told Front Office Sports. I would be shocked if these games do not get moved once a CBA is done and finalized. All right. The WNBA 2025 schedule was released 2 months earlier. The Dream announced in March that their game on May 22nd against Indiana would move to State Farm Arena, home of the Hawks. The Wings announced a week later. So we're at the end of January, and there's 6 weeks before we get to March. And they moved games in March of last year. So I don't believe for a second the Caitlin Clark effect, I don't believe that that's gone. All right? I've told a couple of my fellow content creators, the moment she sinks her first 3 in an official game, the moment she hits a logo 3, it is back off and running. But people do want to see her in an Indiana Fever uniform playing in an actual game. There is a certain amount of bitterness by the way the injury was dealt with by the Indiana Fever. If I remember that, fans were not happy about the way that they just kept stringing fans along, and fans believing she's going to come back, and then all of a sudden there's an ankle injury nobody knew about. And you had the media that was connected to the Fever acting all strange and aloof and covering asses with the Indiana Fever. Let's just keep it real. That's what we do. But the moment she's in uniform, the moment she hits a logo 3, all bets are off. I'm calling it now. The Wings and the Dream and probably the others, if they're, I don't know how many, they're not playing the Sky this year like they were. That would have been one of the other games that would have gotten moved. I think there's only 3 games against the Sky. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Is the Caitlin Clark effect over? It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for WNBA ownership, certain ones of them, Dream, Mystics, to literally spite Caitlin Clark so much that they're willing to cost themselves money. And there's not a lot of smart people involved with the WNBA or women's basketball at this point. Let's be honest. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.